Thank you for tuning in to All About the Girls, the podcast. We're your host, me, Jenny Craig Brown, interviews incredible women to learn what powers them, what inspires them, and how they make our world a better place. Let's get to it. Welcome, everybody, to All About the Girls, the podcast. Don't worry, I am back at the helm this month, and we are super excited to bring on Aida Haigh. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This is such an awesome experience.
Yeah, I am pumped to have you. We met just recently at a Goodwill charity event, which was so fun. We were both in the fashion show. I immediately was drawn to you, I think, because of you had a very business-oriented attitude that I loved. Like, you came to the fashion show prepped, prepared, you were working, you're like, I got stuff to do, and I could sense that immediately, and it was so much fun to get to know you a little bit. We talked a little bit about fitness, we talked a little bit about your job. So just to tell folks a little bit about you, you are the manager of strategy and risk at NiSource, aka NIPSCO, for those that don't know that name. You were previously with U.S. Steel. You also attended IU Northwest for your MBA. You also attended University of Illinois for your Bachelor of Science, Chemical Engineering, and was previously a lecturer at Purdue University Northwest. So what a bio. That was a big introduction, but for those that don't know you, let's dive right in. Tell me a little bit about Aida as a whole, where you came from, your background, just kind of your upbringing.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I really need to start with, I was not even born in this country. I came here when I was about 4.5 years old.
Okay. And where are you from?
I was born in the Middle East. I was born in Jordan. And I came to this country, did not know a lick of English, obviously, and my mom's biggest fear was whether I was going to learn English or not, and she would cry, freaking out that I would never learn English. So they started me off in kindergarten, and back in the day, kindergarten was either morning or afternoon.
Sure.
And they put me in both, morning and afternoon, so that
you were getting double.
I would double absorb all the information that there was for me to learn. So I started there. We grew up in Lansing, Illinois, so very close.
Yeah, right.
Right
just
here in
down
the
street, if you will. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I went to local public schools and I felt like I had a great education in Lansing. And my mom was working at Purdue University Northwest at the time. She was a professor, and our whole upbringing, she really focused everything around education. Education was so important. She has her engineering degree, went and got her MBA, and then got her doctorate in a country with a completely different language. And that really set the stage for me and my career. So I pursued my chemical engineering degree. And then while I was getting my degree, I started interning at our local steel mills. And then I took a break. I got married young, took a break, had my daughter, so took a year off.
And how old were you when you had your daughter?
I was 24.
Okay.
So fairly young.
Fairly young, yeah.
Yeah, I got married at 22, which is probably a little too young to get married. I will admit
I always say, I don't think we should be allowed to get married until we're 30.
I agree.
We just are too different from 20 to 30, you know?
You really are, and you really haven't found yourself yet.
Yeah.
And I also married the wrong person, so I made that big mistake, which continued to cost me throughout my entire career, which is okay, because it shaped me into who I am today. So I had my daughter, and I filed for divorce when my daughter was 6 months old.
So right after, how interesting and brave of you. That's at a very intense time for a new mom.
Yeah.
So, and this is going to not even double, but probably triple that stress upon you, but that was worth it for you.
And add on the cultural aspect of it. I'm the first female in my family to ever file for divorce.
Really?
Yes.
And how did your family take that?
My mom and dad were very supportive because they saw what I was going through, and they didn't want to see their daughter suffer. So it was just
they knew it wasn't right for you either, and that's really what mattered.
Yeah, it really was. And I without their support, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So they helped me kind of get back on my feet. When my daughter turned a year old, I went back to work at U.S. Steel. And I spent about 4 years at US Steel, which is also when I got my MBA. So I was going through an ugly divorce, had a toddler, was working 80-hour weeks, and getting an MBA. And I look back.
I literally don't know how you
I don't
can
know
even
either.
say that. I don't know how, even without sleep in consideration, how you could do that. That's incredible.
I look back and I don't know how I did it. I couldn't do that
Deliriously,
today.
yeah.
Yeah, I was very little sleep. My mom helped a
gosh.
lot with my daughter. That was great. She would get her to school. I would pick her up from, school and things like that. So that helped. And then, the steel industry is just very male dominated. It's a different atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I didn't see myself wanting to be there for very long.
Okay.
Just because of the people, the culture. It was not where I saw myself.
Sure.
But I knew I had to start somewhere. So it was a great stepping stone for me, but I knew I needed something better.
Okay.
So I came to NiSource, or NIPSCO as we know it, and I love our culture there. It's, even though the utility space is male dominated, it's still very different than the steel industry. There's still, we're still focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're thinking about how to empower others in the workforce, empower women, empower people of color, and that's really important to me.
Absolutely.
So, I've been at NiSource. I've had multiple roles at NiSource. I truly think in order to grow in any company, you really need to be able to maybe move roles every 2 to 3 years so you can learn a different aspect of that, organization. And especially us being a regulated utility, there's so much to learn. You have electric, you have gas. You just have so many different options.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a whole world.
It is. And if you want to grow in your career, I feel like you need to be able to shift from role to role, learn something new, show that you can succeed in that area, and then keep doing that over and over.
Yep.
If that's your goal, right? If you want to grow in your career and continue to move up the ladder.
You can't just keep doing the same job and say, "Hey, why am I not growing?" You have to grow, and then they'll meet you there. You've got to show that growth first. Yeah.
You do. So that's something that, I've liked to do. And I can't say that I get bored quickly, but I feel like once I've learned how to do something and I learned how to do it well and I created a process for it, now I'm like, okay, now what? Now what am I going to do?
On to the next.
Right. I'm like, okay, what's next? So I did this, proved myself. Okay, next, right?
So impressive.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about, if you kind of take all of that information and your history that you just shared with us, tell me about kind of that middle section. So you moved here when you were like 4. Yeah. You got married at 22. How was growing up kind of, we'll call it the region, it's pretty darn close to the region, here as first generation, new to the States? How was that upbringing?
Oh, it was challenging. Our parents...
You obviously learned English real darn well, so your mom's concerns can be put away.
Yes, I was able to get degrees and fulfill what she thought is best for me. But our Middle Eastern culture is very different. It's more strict than the American culture.
Absolutely.
So that was challenging growing up in that environment. It's just different, right? Mm-hmm. I understand it more now that I'm older, and I get where some of the cultural aspects play a role. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, growing up, there wasn't much of an emphasis around culture or diversity, equity, and inclusion as there is now. Mm-hmm. Like now, schools focus on that. It's okay to be more different, or bringing a Middle Eastern lunch to school rather than a PB&J, right?
Yeah. I'm like, what is she eating?
Right. What is a pita bread? What? I've never heard of that. What is that on her sandwich? So yeah, it's different. So it was embarrassing. I'm not gonna lie, but I appreciate it now.
That's what I was hoping, because I think it's so beautiful to see the different cultures, and I think you're right. I think the States as a whole are at least more overall focused on DEI, but it still was tough. I think
it was very tough.
Growing up like that, I think for any kid is going to be tough. But even, 10 years ago or so, that was even harder. And I think it's great to see you come through that so well.
Yeah.
We were not always and we're still not always great as a country at accepting new folks. And I think that we are getting better every day, but there's still plenty of room for growth there too.
there still is room for growth, but we've come a long way from where we were.
Absolutely.
Now people know that there are other countries in the world,
Yes.
whereas before it was like, oh,
Well
just
said.
America, and that's it.
That's all we
we're the
have
end all
here.
be all.
Yeah.
So that was different.
Sure.
And then just as I went to college in Chicago, that was a bigger, more diverse atmosphere, and it was
Probably
more
great to
open.
see.
It was great to see, and that's something that I encourage everyone to really just venture out to something different and learn about different cultures, learn about different types of food, just different things.
yes.
Yeah, I love food too. So
And that's like the best part of learning all these cool cultures is that learning their history and where the culture came from and why, and then the food. Like,
yes, the food's
it's
amazing.
so fun to learn what other folks around the world are eating, why, how it plays into their culture as well, I think is really interesting too. So that's incredible.
Yeah, and our culture is fun. I mean, at all our events, we're singing, we're dancing. I mean, Christmas is a singing, dancing fest. Everything is just filled with just so much action. You don't just like sit around and talk and whatnot. Like, there's just more interactive. So it was different, but it was a good different, I think.
Great.
It really helped shape me into who I am today. It really did. I didn't appreciate it then, but I appreciate it more now. I was very introverted as a child.
Okay.
Which may sound like a shock to
I
everyone.
know.
that
I
knows
was
me.
like, all right, I didn't expect you to say that, but that's interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't until I was about 17 that I came out of my shell, and I think it was because I started working in high school and college to pay for everything.
More, yeah.
Yeah, I actually started working in sales for T-Mobile corporate. And I was forced to just get out there, face my fear of, talking to people and just sell them cell phones and whatnot.
I love
and it really helped get me out of my shell. So
that'll force it. Yeah, that kind of customer service aspect of jobs like that will help you for sure. And you've got to deal with everybody, it sounds like, probably. The happy, the sad, the mad, the masses.
Yes, and you had to really be, on all the time to be able to support all of them in their different moods. So it just helped me come out of my shell, honestly. Or else I would have probably been this introverted girl hiding in the corner and would not be here today.
Well, and then you go into this very male-dominated field, and I bet that probably helped a ton too, which was another question I wanted to ask. So tell me, you mentioned your mom was also an engineer.
Yes.
How did that come about that you went to school for the same? Was it you're going to school for the same, you're welcome, or did you see some things in her career that you really enjoyed that made that, or was it some combination? How did that come about?
Well, my mom is very good at math and science, and I think she passed that gene on to us. And I was also, and still am, very good at math and science, and that really attracted me to engineering.
You get to do both.
You get to do both.
Yeah.
You get to really problem solve. You get to critical think. Like, I'm really good at solving a problem quick on my feet. When someone brings a complaint to me, I'm always like, okay, I have these 3 solutions. Which way do you want to go?
Yes.
And, they may just be venting, but I'm over here offering solutions.
Fixing. Yeah.
Yes, I'm a fixer. So engineering to me was more of like a problem-solving opportunity.
Yeah.
It was hard to pick which type of engineering. I originally started like bioengineering, because I wanted to go to medical school, which is my parents' dream for me, is to be their doctor. And I did not end up there, obviously. I don't know if that's good or bad, considering, what we just went through with COVID.
Yeah.
So maybe it worked out for the best.
Right.
I don't
maybe
know.
you would have had to be in the midst of that.
Of
otherwise.
all of that, and I don't know that I would have wanted to do that. Whereas, being where I am today, I was able to work from home, just had a lot more flexibility through, COVID that others did not have the opportunity based on the field that they had chosen. So maybe it worked out.
Yeah, I think so.
And I really liked chemistry. Like, I liked, the labs of it. I just liked that aspect. So
interesting.
I changed my major to chemical engineering, and I had a few advisors who really thought that, that would be a better fit for me. And if I was looking to work right after college, it'd be easier to find a job with a chemical engineering degree than a bio-E degree, which was fair because I was able to find a job fairly quickly and intern and get a full-time job after college.
Yeah.
So they had valid points.
And to have that internship right out of college is extremely valuable. So that's kudos to you for taking that route, but you also had to work for that route. And
Yes.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the steel industry, it's still challenging. It's dirty. It's, hard hat, steel-toed boots, flame retardant clothing all day long, every day. So it was very taxing. I know.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
You're in your pearls today,
I know.
your pretty sweater. I'm like, wow, hard hat would be a different look, but it'd still be cool.
Yeah, and
could pull it.
it was good though, because it taught me a lot too. It taught me about, how to handle an industrial job, because I feel like that's even a lot different than an office job today.
Okay.
So, and it gave me the experience to come to NIPSCO and really provide valuable information coming from, a heavy industry. Like, I knew there are big customers now, the steel mills and whatnot, and knowing, their perspective, I was able to bring a different perspective to NIPSCO from a customer,
Smart.
aspect.
Yes, I love that tie-in. That's really smart. And I was going to ask, so obviously without revealing any trade secrets or anything that you can't talk about with your position, for those of us that don't know what that means, so your technical title is Manager of Strategy and Risk. What does that mean for folks like me that don't know what that means?
So in my role, I've had multiple different projects that I've worked on. But the best way that I can describe my position is really, our job is to think about the best long-term path for our company and then provide a way to get there, right? So our long-term strategy involves, and this isn't, a secret, we're looking to decarbonize our footprint. We're looking at new technologies, new innovations. We're looking at, being carbon net zero, that type of thing. And in order to get there, we have to figure out what that long-term 10, 15-year plan looks like in order to get NiSource where we want it to be. So think of it as, we're here now, and then we have a goal 15 years from now, and we have to build out the plan on how we're going to get to that goal within 15 years.
Got it.
And that's really the overview of what we do in strategy, on a regular term. I've also worked on multiple different projects within our team where something will come up in the industry that we'll just have to tackle that no one's really done before. So for example, under the bipartisan infrastructure law, they issued the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act through the Biden administration. And it's called IIJA, that's the acronym, we live in acronyms.
Of course.
And through this bill, there are multiple grants and opportunities that utilities can go seek money to, recoup costs on big projects.
Sure.
So we're in the process of investigating, if there are any potential grants that we can apply for to get money back for the company and things like that.
Be able to invest into these cool things that are going to make you guys as a company better for the environment, better just as a whole.
Right. And
Sure.
there are multiple, ways to do that. You can partner with like a U.S. Steel or Cleveland Cliffs and whatnot, and you can partner with others in the community, or you can pursue grants on your own. And really, we just needed to investigate what, NiSource could try and apply for. So we were looking at those opportunities. I will say that's completely different. Utilities have not looked at, grants and whatnot in the past. So this is a completely new space.
Smart.
That everyone, it was new. So I had no idea what I was doing. And here I am, like, trying to figure out the grant process.
You're like, I'm not a grant writer, but I am now.
Right. I'm like, oh, well, here we go. Here's another thing that we have to look at and do.
Yeah.
So a lot of projects will come up like that we just have to kind of tackle and figure out along the way. And in order to be in a role like mine, you need to be able to handle, ambiguous topics and be able to put together a plan on how to pursue them. And that's really hard. It's not like something that you can learn in a class. It's more of, something that you learn along the way. And I feel like you have to make a lot of mistakes in order to even get good at it.
Yeah, as with most things, I think, right?
Right. You learn from your mistakes. Like if you learned on a mistake that you made prior, you're not going to do that again, and you're going to think about it differently. But I view it as really, my role is more of like a long-term planner and trying to figure out how I can get from point A to point B by planning the entire route.
Okay.
And I feel like that's something that I'm naturally good at, where I overthink things. I think like 10 years in advance. When I'm doing something, I'm thinking about the implications that it may have later, whether good or bad.
Probably makes for such a perfect fit for this role.
Yes, it does.
Like that is absolutely what they need.
Yeah,
and I'm not that person. Like it's an interesting way to see how your brain works. Like as you describe that, you start to understand more about you, and you can see why that's such a great fit for what you do.
It is. It really is, because it comes naturally to me. Like I'm always thinking about how things can play out, how it can go bad, how do we make sure that we address all these situations if it does go bad. Like I'm always thinking worst case scenario and best case scenario.
Exactly. Pessimism is sometimes beneficial if it's for the future and you're kind of trying to figure out how to minimize it.
Yes. Yeah, we have to minimize the risk.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of risk in everything we do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's risk in everything we do on a daily basis in our life. You get on a car, you're driving someplace, there's risk, right?
Yeah.
But we're trying to figure out how do we minimize all the risk that is being, that's out there that we have to handle on a daily basis.
Yeah. Incredible. Wow.
It's different.
Now, when we first met, maybe this is a left turn. So when we first met, I was talking about something, a Spartan race or something that I was going to do. And you were like, wait, tell me more. You were, I think, immediately interested in that physical fitness stuff. So tell me about your kind of fitness journey. Do you run? Do you like to hike? What do you do that kind of made you interested in that when we met?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up not athletic.
Okay.
Never played a sport in my life. I was a nerdy club girl. I probably was in the environmental club and president of Mathletes. But
perfect for where you're at today again.
So, my parents did not really focus us on sports.
Okay.
So 2 years ago, I joined Orange Theory and started as a power walker. And then, picked it up a little bit and started running and doing some weightlifting and things like that. And then last year, I also joined Fleet Feet and started running outdoors, which is very different than a treadmill.
Yes.
Very different experience.
There's some goods and some bads, yeah.
Absolutely. Like our weather in Northwest Indiana sucks for running outside, but I do it.
Good.
Ran last night.
I was going to say, you run, I think, all year you mentioned.
I've been trying to run all year outside.
Last night was cold.
Yeah. I've been running so far a full year outside, so that's an accomplishment.
Congrats. That is an accomplishment. I know how that goes, and running outside in the cold is tough. It's tough.
It is. You just have to have the right gear. That's what I keep telling myself. Just like anything, right? Yes. You need the right gear. You need the right shoes.
Just like in the summer when it's real, real hot and you have to extra water and take your sodium and all that stuff. Yes. The winter's just different prep, but
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And, I'm glad that I started focusing on what I call my health journey. It took me to the age of 35 before I started that. So
that's okay.
Older than most. But at least I started.
Absolutely. It's important.
My daughter is a swimmer. So she swims for like Central Barracudas, and she swims 2 hours a night. And how old is she now? 13.
So you got a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
In swimming.
Yeah. Okay. So she's athletic, and she's doing all the things. And I'm like, I need to do that too.
Okay.
Like, I need to step out. I need that hour for myself in the morning. I like to work out in the morning before I start my day, because I know if I save it for the afternoon, it doesn't get done. Something will get in the way, and someone will prioritize a meeting over my, mental health. But the exercise is really, for my own mental health, my own physical health. Yeah. And I'm so glad I'm doing it. It hurts.
Yeah.
I hate it, but I'm so glad I'm doing it.
It's so funny that you say that. I absolutely agree. I'm training for these Spartan. I've decided now, since the last time we talked, I'm going to do a trifecta this year. So that's the small, medium, and large Spartan race. So there's like a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon, but each of them are full of obstacles. And it's so hard to keep doing. And my husband will always joke, or anyone will say it, like, I just don't know how you do that. I don't even believe in a runner's high, or people. And I try to explain, there is never a moment, especially when you're running in January, February, March, most of April, like, never in that moment am I like, I love running. This is great.
No.
It's never that way. Never. Even in the nicest of weather, maybe for the first 10 minutes, I'm like, this is great. And then it goes back downhill. It's the after effects. Like you said, it's more what it does for my mental health, how I feel after that I've done that. Same thing when I'm in the gym. I don't mind lifting weights as much as I dislike running outside in the cold. But I'm still not like, this rocks.
Right.
It's just, it's good for you. So you do it. Hopefully you have a good podcast or some good music to listen to, and that'll help. But yeah, it's not ever really in the moment that great. It's what it does for you as a whole. I think that's the best benefit.
I agree. And the days that I can't work out in the morning, I feel awful all day long.
Yeah.
You know, and I know they say you should take a rest day, but I prefer even an
active rest day. You can still
Yeah.
get out there and do something. Now it's
Yeah.
called, this is the new thing, hot girl walks. Have you heard about this trend?
No.
So I have been doing like little walks. Same thing, mental health. Middle of the day, if possible, I'll just leave the office and I'll go walk. Midwinter, I'll do like I'll have an outfit on for work and I will full sweatpants, hoodie, gloves, and just go walk downtown. People might think I'm, living on the streets, but my goal is just to go get out and get the walk and the time in there. And now I'm seeing all these trends on TikTok and such that are like, get your hot girl walk out. And I'm like, wait, that's not fair. Can I have a credit for this trend, please? I've been doing this. Now it's called hot girl walks. Like, I didn't call it hot girl walks in my giant sweatpants, but I love that now it's a thing.
Yeah.
We're pushing the mental health side of it, I think. And that seems to be the premise with the trend is it's really good for your brain to just get away from what you're doing and focus on you or the outside or getting the, vitamin D.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes you need a break if you're looking at something for so long and you're stuck. You need
and
fresh
with what
eyes.
you do, that critical thinking that you have to do so much of, that depletes battery quickly, right? Like that takes a lot of brain power. And so to kind of give that a rest for a moment and recoup.
Yeah, it does, which is why I think I need to work out in the morning just to be able to have all the energy that I need to bring all day, just in general. And then, after work, full-time chauffeur mom and trying to do all the things and getting ready and, and just homework and just everything that you would do in your day-to-day mom life. And then, go to bed and repeat.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So tell me, as we often do, we always like to talk about those folks in your life that have really helped you or changed you or maybe formed you to who you are today. So who are those women for you or people? They don't have to be women, but we usually try to focus on some women that really have affected you positively in your life.
Yeah, number one would be my mom. I'm very close to my mom. I call her every day, multiple times a day. She's probably sick of me calling her every day.
She's not sick of it, I guarantee you. She probably still loves it so much.
Probably. She's been my solid role model. I mean, she was able to, move up in her career, and she's still moving up in her career. She was just promoted.
Great.
Yeah, to, I believe, Associate Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs at Purdue Northwest. So,
okay.
She's come a long way in her career.
Yeah.
And she continues to remind me that she started her career when she was my age now or a couple years ago, and I'm like, oh, yeah, she started her career in her mid-30s, and here I am, I'm in a good spot in my career, but I always feel behind. So I feel really behind in my career because I'll be honest with you, my divorce set me back. So really be careful on who you decide that you want to marry because that does create, it could make or break your career life, honestly. And I didn't realize that until I went through it. And I learned a lot through the process. Don't get me wrong. I'm still going through a long divorce process 13 years later. But
oh, dear Lord.
Yeah. So you can imagine the financial cost, the lawyers, all of the things. But to your point, my mom helped me, see that there's always, a light at the end of the tunnel. Like she started her career late and look, she's still able to continue to grow. So it doesn't matter when you start your career. Yeah. As long as you start somewhere, you have goals, you set them, and you keep reaching them and do what you want to do. I feel like that's the most important key takeaway that she taught me too. like I said, she really focused on education because she really thinks that having that education is a great starter point for any person in their career if they want to go into an office field and not the trades, of course. So she really focused on heavily on that, and she has dealt with a lot of adversity in her life too, coming to this country, not really speaking the language, having to learn everything, and just watching her continuously plow through every obstacle in her way, and she just
to be able to start that career when she did. I mean,
and she just plows through
here in a new country to her, and she had to learn the language and all of those things and to get to that point. That's
and learn to drive here and learn everything here and learn the rules.
It's so different.
It was, and raising 3 kids in a country she didn't know anything, but she did it, right? And she prospered doing it. Like and she excelled and she succeeded. I mean, there are people that are born here and don't accomplish half the things that she's accomplished being, an immigrant, not knowing anything. And she doesn't let any obstacle get in her way.
And it sounds like she doesn't take anything for granted.
She doesn't.
Like she has had to work for every single thing she has.
She really does. And having that role model, that person showing you day in, day out, that you can accomplish anything with any obstacle in your way is, I think, the biggest driver into who I am. Because...
Well said.
I mean, you learn by example, and she was the example. Like, she truly did not let anything stop her or get in her way. She was determined, and she's like fireball. She'll go and run, and
so we need to put her on the list. We'll have her in too.
Yes, you do. She's amazing. Her story is amazing.
Like it.
So, but without her and without her backing, I couldn't have. They supported me through college. They wanted to make sure I got a good education, wanted to make sure I was doing the right thing. They supported me. My parents supported me through my divorce, made sure that I had what I needed to get back on my feet. And they helped with my daughter in her beginning years. And, they were the best grandparents ever.
Yes. And do you have siblings?
I do. I have 2 siblings. Yep.
Okay.
I have 2 brothers.
So you're the only girl.
Yeah, I'm the oldest and only girl, so all the responsibility falls on me.
Man, yeah, that's tough. Only girl and the oldest.
Yeah, so you get all the responsibility. But yeah, if it wasn't for my mom, or my mom being who she was, as strong of an individual that she was, I don't think I would be as strong as I am today.
Well said. So you mentioned some adversity your mom had to go through. I'm certain some of those are the same as the adversities and struggles you've probably had to go through, but tell us about what that looks like. So what are some of those adversities or obstacles that you've had to overcome in your time?
So honestly, my divorce was a big setback, and it was a big financial setback. It was
And you said you were married at 22.
Yep.
And you were filing divorce at
24.
24.
24-year-old. I don't know the legal system.
Oh,
I know.
Right.
I know. You don't know the legal system. You're trying to find attorneys, and you're trying to figure out this new path. Like, obviously, I have an engineering degree. I didn't have a law degree. I didn't know anything in the legal system. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know how divorce worked. Didn't know any of these things. So I had to learn, right?
Yeah.
And I had multiple different sets of attorneys, and then, I stuck with one attorney that got me through the majority of my case, and he was amazing and helped me through that. But I had to go through this, learning process of learning how court works, learning how divorce court works. It's totally different.
Yeah.
Learning that, each judge likes things differently. So you have to make sure you're navigating this space according to the rules of the game. And I didn't know the rules of the game, which is why you hire attorneys, honestly. And these attorneys help guide you down that path. But yeah, my divorce is still contentious, and it's still a struggle, and there's still a lot of money spent on attorneys, and
it will set you back if people. And I love that you speak about it so openly, because I think oftentimes, and we hear it, we all have a friend or a family member or both, or many of them that have been through divorce, and they'll just say, oh, it was terrible. Let's not talk about it. Move on, which is fine. But there's value in learning from those situations. We all learn from the people around us in good and in bad moments. And so for someone like yourself to speak so openly about the struggles that brought to you is helpful, because there's someone else going through that that's like, see, okay, it's not just me. It really is this hard, and I can get through it. So I appreciate that a ton.
Yeah, it is hard. It still is hard. Still counting down to the days that my daughter will be 18, 4 years, 9 months to go. You know, I'm literally counting
And then
down.
it will actually be done.
And then it'll be done. That's how
yeah.
I view it. It's just when you have someone on the other side who continuously likes to fight. You know, it's just different. So
That angst, yeah.
Yeah, so it continues on, and in the beginning of the process, I let it really get to me, and it would kind of control my emotions. It would get me down, you know, and now I've learned to overcome that too. I've learned to be mentally stronger than that. I'm not saying that it's not strong to let it get you down, but I've learned how to handle it better.
And if you can learn, my opinion is, if you can learn that in such a tough situation like a divorce at that age, man, you can take that learned lesson into so many other aspects of your life, where I feel like if you're kind of trained, if you will, at a hard thing like that, all the other things get one level easier because, well, I did this.
Yeah.
And I think that's well learned. That's great that you took it that way.
If I can handle what I went through, I can do anything. That is my mentality. I'm
well
like, I can do anything you throw at me, I can handle, because
incredible mindset.
I'll probably have like an 18-year divorce case. Like I'm legally divorced, but it's still, you know, it's in post decree, so there's continuous motions that I have to, you know, respond to.
And then you're kind of got a co-parent at some point somehow too.
Yep.
So that's all it, like you said, until she's 18.
Right.
It's going to be
work. Yeah. It is a lot of work. But you have to pick your hard. You know, like some people say marriage is hard, and I'll say, you know, divorce is hard. So you have to pick what you think is your hard and deal with it and handle it. And that's what I did. You know, I chose to leave, and I chose to figure out how to get through it, you know, and I did. And I paved a way forward. And to get where I am today based on what I went through, I think is amazing.
I completely agree. And again, to be able to speak out about it and say,
I'm
if
not
I
ashamed.
can get through this,
I'm not ashamed. In the beginning, it was hard, you know, because our culture really shames divorce. But now, no, I'll tell everyone that was the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah, because you're gonna have to. If you're gonna have to do that for 18 years, you're gonna either have to be with that person every single day and be unhappy about it for 18 years, or you're gonna have to deal with that person in a co-parenting or through these cases sort of way, and that's at least less, right?
I think so.
At times the stress would have been higher, but over the 18-year span, it's probably at least less time with a person that you don't enjoy being around.
Yep. And I didn't want my daughter to see like two people fighting all the time. Like,
or you allowing that.
Yeah.
You allowing yourself to be unhappy because it's easier for her or easier in general. What a battle.
Yeah, there are a lot of things I didn't want my daughter to see, so I wanted to mitigate. And the best way to mitigate, the only way, would have been divorce. So there's a lot of things where I'm like, oh, she really doesn't need to see that or think that that's okay, because it's not.
Absolutely.
You know, so I had to leave.
Now you're becoming her kind of her outlet or her person to look up to, like you do to your mom, because you're taking those. Yeah.
And you don't realize it until I realize it more now, the older I get, that my mom was my North Star. And I want to be my daughter's North Star. And the only way to do that is really to walk the walk. You know, with me, what you see is what you get. Like, I have nothing to hide. I'm very open. And I want her to see that and understand what I went through, but also know that I can get through anything, and so can she. You know, but I want that for all our girls. Like, that's so.
I love that you said that.
You know, like, moving to like diversity, equity, and inclusion, like that is the reason that I like to participate in like community events and that I like to get out in the community and really push a lot of these fun events because of that. Like I want to find ways to help other women grow.
I saw you were part of, I think, the Girl Scouts Engineering Day previously.
Yep.
I think we mentioned you or quoted you in an article for that quite some time ago.
Yep.
And I think even when we first met, you were talking about things like that you like to be in because you want to help that community, whether they're just kiddos that are into engineering or females that are into something that's very male dominated or both. How do you help those people? So it's like, it looks like you really want to share what you've learned going through your journey with everybody to help them as well. And that's hard to do, a lot of extra work that you don't have to technically do that you're doing to help other people. And that's really incredible.
Yeah, that part of my career, it's not even, I wouldn't even call it part of my career, but that part of my life is really what I enjoy. So like I am currently president of our women's employee resource group at NiSource.
Okay.
It's called Developing and Advancing the Women of NiSource, Dawn. And we put together like a women's summit in March. We put together some professional development events throughout the year. We raise money for breast cancer.
Fantastic.
And through Dawn, we were hosting the Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day. This year, we're actually opening it up to the public.
Oh, great. Tell us more.
Yeah, so we're partnering with Northwest Indiana Influential Women's Association. And I actually sit on the board there too, because if you can't tell, like growing women is really my passion.
Yes.
You know, it's what I feel like we all should be doing. And if we don't start growing each other now and growing our girls, we're never going to break the glass ceiling together.
Absolutely. And it has to be together. I think that's the biggest thing is there's room for all of us to grow, so let's not be kicking each other down. Let's really focus on, as a whole, let's grow.
I agree, and that's really near and dear to my heart. So we partnered with NIWA, and
great group.
Yes, amazing group.
Yeah.
And
Andrea Pierman, Erica Dombey, like running the show there. I think they're incredible. The event's incredible. What they do a lot of ongoing learning, a lot of ongoing support.
Absolutely.
Network, even just networking, right?
Yes.
Like, let's just all get together and say, let's work together.
Yeah, we're actually hosting a speed networking event in January through NIWA at NIPSCO, so that'll be exciting.
Fun, yes.
Yeah, so I've tried to find ways where I can incorporate, NIPSCO into the community, into like my board membership, and make it all work together. So because I lead the Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day, I thought it'd be awesome to kind of partner with NIWA and bring it to like everybody in the community. We are limited on space, so tickets are selling out shortly.
Hurry, hurry.
Right? And even our speed networking event that's being hosted in January, that'll be fun too. We're just doing a lot of fun things in the community, and I feel like that's the stuff that really brings me joy. That's the stuff that I enjoy doing. Like, it's the best
And it's so
part.
impactful for the region. Like, we need women like you to do what you're doing with the passion you're doing it with, because that's what gets stuff done, and that's what makes the real difference. Yeah.
I agree. And if we all did a little bit, it would go such a long way. It's hard to have all the same people doing it over and over, but it really helps. And even NIWA, if you look at the events that they're doing in all of 2024, you'll see there's going to be a lot of events coming up in 2024. There's going to be a big event in maybe November-ish.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe like a women's summit or a women's conference or something of the sort.
Love this.
Would be awesome for the region. But NIWA is really going above and beyond and trying to give back to the community so that women can truly grow. And that's why it's important to me. That's why I love sitting on their board. I love, trying to contribute as much as I can to the cause and trying to bring events to them that I think could be beneficial.
Yeah.
But really, we all can do that, right? No matter where we work, we can always find a way to tie in our job to a local non-for-profit. And it doesn't have to be, a women's org. It could be any non-for-profit, and really find synergies there. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that comes naturally to me. Like I enjoy doing it.
Kind of finding the groups that will have the best synergy with your group and things like that, and then making it all happen. That's like a passion.
It really is. I think
it's work. So a lot of people are automatically like, ooh, that's a lot, and I've got kids and I got all this stuff, but
so
I feel like I was gonna say Ida can do it. And she's got plenty happening, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I'm president of our women's ERG group. I do that extra. You know, we don't get paid for that.
Yeah. You're working never 40 hours a week. Right. You're always working more, plus kiddo, plus all that.
You know, you're sitting on a non-for-profit board. You're not doing that for any, financial means.
No, yeah.
You're doing it for the reason, the cause.
Yeah, that's your heart. Not
it really is.
Not
and if
the
we don't do it now, our daughters will suffer.
Yeah.
And that's really what should be driving all of us forward is the future. Our future children will suffer if we don't address these issues now or help develop more women now into these roles that they really belong in. So that
and if you don't have kids, it's your nieces, your coworkers, the kiddos that live next door to you, or whoever it is. There's women in everybody's lives that will be better off with folks like you and me and all of us helping to grow women in the region, women in our country, women in our world.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
we need folks like you.
Part of the cause. It's a team effort. I can't do it alone.
And how, for those that don't know, because I remember prior to All About the Girls movement event podcast, feeling like I wanted to do more and feeling like I didn't know what that meant. I'm very lucky to have this platform that we were able to use to do that. It has branched out in many different ways and we do lots of different things with it. But for those that don't maybe have that or don't have an organization like NiSource that is really great at having, they're inclusionary across the board, right? They're helping all kinds of nonprofits, not just women, but all types of empowerment and growth. How do you think that someone could just get involved if they work, I don't care, at the post office or they're an accountant? How do they help or dive into something like that to help women?
Well, they can find a non-for-profit board to participate in or sit in.
Just start Googling, right?
Yeah. There's a Legacy Foundation, there's NIWA, there's so many foundations. And it doesn't have to be, necessarily a women's org. If they're passionate about Habitat for Humanity or they're passionate about something else, there are different local chapters that they can participate in. They can volunteer at a non-for-profit. They can sit on a board. There's so many options out there. They just have to do a little Googling and figure out, where they can volunteer or reach out to those directors in those community centers and see if they want to participate and volunteer. You have St. Jude's House here in Crown Point.
They're fantastic.
Volunteers. They are.
And they always need volunteers. And I just had a tour with Ryan a couple months back, and it is an incredible spot. Yeah. The work they do is incredible. Same thing. I'm like, Ryan, tell me what you need. I want to help you always and forever because what they do there is incredible. That's a great suggestion just on its own.
Yeah, and we were lucky so NiSource does Dollars for Doers, so we get out in the community and kind of give back by volunteering our time and whatnot, and they give us about a certain amount of hours a year that we can volunteer. And St. Jude's is the one I went to this year, and it was amazing. It was incredible. Good. I'd do it again on my own time.
Yeah.
It was just awesome. It was awesome to see, just awesome to help them, clean up their space. And, they're always looking for donations and of all sorts of things. They can add their Facebook page, and they're always looking for different donations in different months for things that they're looking for. Oh, yeah,
I've seen that too. They've got like, hey, this is what we need in the month of December, or this is what we need. Go buy one thing.
Yeah.
Go donate one thing.
You can buy it on Amazon and have it shipped to them.
You don't even have to go there. Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't just
send it right on over. Absolutely. Or just Google around. I think that's, I just got interviewed by Chris for a recent episode, and we talked about the origination of this. Candidly, we made it up, right? Like, we made up the event. It was just something that we felt was needed in the community. NIWA was really the only thing around, and we wanted something that was more personal to me and to who we are as a group, as a company at Great News. But we just did it. And it wasn't because we thought it was going to make us money. candidly, it doesn't, but it's great for the community, and that's all we care about is, especially now, we pay for the event. Thank gosh.
Yeah.
And it gets women together. It gets them connected to one another, and that means the world to us. And it allows us to feature folks like yourself that says that we can learn from.
Yes.
That we can, like, man, Ida's running circles around the average human being, and if she can do it, so can we. And so I think that's so helpful. But really just Google, nonprofit organizations that need help near me, or women groups near me, or whatever. Just start looking, and you'll find someone that's looking for help. You could Facebook search it even.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I wish I had started doing younger, is really being more active in our community. It's one of my personal regrets.
100% agree with my own.
Yeah,
I feel the same.
I feel like I wasn't doing enough at a younger age because I didn't realize how important the cause was until I had a daughter, and until I started working in male-dominated fields, and I'm like, whoa. Is this
And yours
the
is so
future?
male-dominated. Tell me what that looks like a little bit. How many women do you work with in your field on the average basis?
So NiSource has come a long way.
And and that's also to
like-
say they're already better than most. So you're probably
They are. So at U.S. Steel, I was the only girl and only female in my department. That was it.
One of
in my
one.
department. Well, yeah.
one of one.
That was it. We had, I think our plant manager at the time was a female, but we didn't see her that much, and then she left. So, but that wasn't even in our department per se. Like in our department,
It was you.
it was it. It was really they didn't have, we had to make a female bathroom out, in the field. It was just different.
I bet most
right?
people would think, oh, but that's not a thing. And so to hear you say that wasn't that long ago. It's still like that.
Yeah.
In a lot of areas.
Yeah, they used to use the female bathroom for something else, so then I'm like, no, can't do any of that
This is
anymore.
my bathroom. Stay out.
Right? I'm like, no. So it was, it's very different. So that was very eye-opening for me. It was a shock. Like, really, there's one of us, and it's me, and that's it.
Yeah.
I was the only person, and it was challenging. Like, they were rough.
Yeah.
They were not easy. I've sat in a meeting where the coordinator was so upset that day, and I was asking my boss a question. He kicked me out of the meeting because I asked a question.
Oh, wow.
I was new, so I was just trying to learn. I'm like, hey, why did this happen? Like, I don't understand, like, they keep talking about this problem.
And you're trying to, because you're a fixer, you're probably trying to, like, let me
Right.
figure out why so I can figure out how to fix it.
Right.
And then
I'm
they're
what's
like,
the
get out.
Like, let me help, And he's like, get the F out. And I'm like, oh, okay.
It's like that.
Alrighty then. So I'm out. Okay. There was another instance where they're like, literally throwing a table up in a conference room because they're angry and mad. I mean, it was just a whole different experience. Like,
The angst behind that, I just can't deal with very well myself. Like,
No,
I
and
don't
I'm
need
just
you
like,
to bring that
oh.
angst to me unless I have
Okay.
physically harmed you or someone you
right.
love, right? Like, there's
I'm
just
like,
no...
there's nothing about work that we even have to deal with.
You're
this
taking
here.
yourself a bit too
Yeah.
seriously in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very different. NiSource is not like that at all, obviously.
Yeah.
So in my group, we have a lot more women in my group. So that's in our strategy group.
Sure.
I've moved around in different roles. I started off in like energy supply and optimization. And there were, a couple females within that group. We were still mostly male dominated, but I feel like in the last 2 to 3 years or so, we've changed our entire, executive leadership team is, very diverse. We have more.
I love that
women,
about
more
NiSource
people of
as a whole.
color. We are
Great.
focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we're seeing that now too. We're seeing more women, in roles. There's still certain areas that, it is limited. Like the field is probably more challenging to get more women in the field. But we've come a long way.
And NiSource is really, I think, because they have focused so much on diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's number one, they're reaping the benefits now, I think, because they hire folks like yourself. But I love that they've had that focus, and so they can say that now. And I think they started that probably earlier than most as well, comparative to other companies. So it's really great that you can say that now, and that they are such a strong proponent for our community.
We are, and we have a DE&I team, so it is a focus, and it is important to us. So we are seeing changes, within our own organization, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's something, when you look at different organizations, even like if you're looking at, different jobs, different career options, it's something that you should ask, do you have a diversity, equity, and inclusion team? What does that look like here? Do you have employee resource groups? What do they look like? And I think that really can give you some insight into the culture of an organization before you even take a role there. Like hypothetically, which I'm not planning to do, but if I were to look at, outside companies, those would be certain, questions I would ask, like in an interview process.
Yeah, especially that you work for such a champion now in that area, you would want someone that would match that.
Absolutely. And when you have more of a focus on DE&I, you see, no culture is going to be perfect, right? I mean, I've seen that growing up in two different cultures. Like they each have their pros, their cons. The same goes for work, right? It's not going to be perfect, but if you see a company that's striving to get better every day, that's really a company that'll differentiate themselves from someone else, from a different company. And we're not perfect, right? But if we continue to strive to be better, that's really what differentiates even an employee from an average, Joe who doesn't want to do that.
Absolutely.
So really that's what I kind of look for there.
Fantastic. Let's dive into your career. So sounds like engineering was in your list pretty early on, but how different is, if you think about when you began your career to now, how different is it? How similar is it? Did you think you'd be where you are and doing what you're doing today?
No. I really didn't know what to expect going into engineering. That's another thing.
It's so broad as well. I mean, that's such a broad topic. What you end up doing could probably vary greatly.
It could, depending on the field you go into. I started off as a process engineer in the steel mills working in blast furnaces. And now I'm in the utility space doing strategy and risk work. Like two different topics, right? Not even, they don't even correlate in any world. I don't know what I had imagined my life to look like when I pursued my engineering degree. I just knew engineering was a good fit, and I feel like my degree just helped me continue to work on my problem-solving skills, learning, new things and how to manage them. But, it's hard to say. I saw myself continuing to kind of grow, climb the corporate ladder. Is what I saw from my career. And I used to think that was very linear, right? You see a ladder and it's going straight up. And you think, that's the only way to continue to grow in your career. And I've learned that's completely inaccurate. I feel like sometimes you need to take like lateral moves. Your ladder can't be straight up. It might look like this.
Yeah, it's like more like the Mario game. You got to go over here and you got to go down this tube and then up this ladder. It's like chutes and ladders versus just one ladder straight up. Yeah.
I agree. And I didn't think it would look like that because I really didn't have any insight on what it would look like. I didn't have any idea. But yes, that was very different. Yeah, I envisioned this like straight and narrow. You do this, you get promoted. You do another great thing, get promoted, and it's not how it works, obviously, right? It's really hard to get promoted in the real world. And then when you do get promoted, you kind of have to take a couple laterals to show that, you can be very knowledgeable in multiple areas before you can even take the next step up.
You mentioned that early on where you said, hey, if you want to grow, you've got to grow, and then you've got to grow a little more and do that regularly before they actually grow you. So It really is kind of, you've got to keep growing yourself before anybody else will grow you as well.
I agree, and there were a lot of things that I didn't know when I first obviously started my career. Like I didn't know the importance of having mentors. I didn't know the importance of having sponsors, and sponsors are really hard to find. Mentors, you can ask anyone to be your mentor. You can't ask anyone to be your sponsor. People sponsor you because they see the work that you do, they love the work that you do, that you put in, and then they take it upon themselves to sponsor you.
Tell me more about that. So
That's challenging.
I was
going to
say, I don't know that most people are even thinking about finding a sponsor. I think they're really, do I have a mentor? Should I get a mentor if not? But this is different. So dive into that a little bit.
So sometimes mentorship can turn into sponsorship. If they really like the individual and they're performing to what they think, they'll turn that mentorship into a sponsorship if that person has authority, right? But finding a sponsor is challenging. But the best way to do it is through mentorship. It's hard to find like other ways to do that. Because you have
to have that relationship built.
Yeah, and how do you build that relationship without a mentorship? So they kind of go hand in hand, but I think what we should be doing, like we as individuals, as women in Northwest Indiana, is we should be sponsoring one another. Like we should, so I heard this before. When men are out of a job, they'll go tell their friend and be like, hey, I just lost my job.
Yep.
They're like, oh, I can make you a position in my company, blah, blah, blah. And they make a position, they hire this guy in.
And he's back on his feet in 3 days.
Right. Women, it's like we're ashamed if we are, if we're out of a job and we don't want to talk about it and we don't really share our struggles. And then we don't think we have the authority to help each other. So I encourage all of us, if your company's hiring and you may have some good candidates that you've met through the community or through networking, make those connections, vouch for those people, and really get them in where they could continue to grow. And, I kind of do that with the individuals that I mentor. I'm always looking internally at our NiSource job board. If I see certain positions, I'll look every other day or every few days, and I see a position that might be a good fit for them. I'm like, hey, did you take a look here? Do you see, I know this person. I could call and put in a good word for you.
Yeah.
But we have to be strategic and, really figure out how to do that for one another. And I feel like that's an area that we can all improve upon and really think about, okay, how can I help this other person grow? Yeah. What can I do? Like, I know I have a role in my company. Post it to your LinkedIn, post it to your social media, post it to your mentors or friends that you think would be a good fit.
Because most often, that young person who you're mentoring, they look up to you so much, but that doesn't mean they see that job and that they even think they could be a good candidate. So hearing from you, did you see this? You'd be a great fit. That alone, that little tidbit can be so helpful for them.
It'll empower them to feel like I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, that believing in one another. When other people believe in you, it gives you that, I'm remarkable feeling to just go and do.
Yes, well said.
And we need to do more of that. We really do.
Yeah, I completely agree. Have you ever heard of the I Am Remarkable movement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We just did this not too long ago with Gloria Morris. So
we've brought her in.
Yes.
So
okay. Have you
last year?
Yes, we did too. I love her so much. I love the I Am Remarkable movement. We should probably do more of those as well. Let's call her tomorrow. But I think great, good to hear.
And that helps other people feel good about themselves. And she hits it on the head. We have to feel good about everything that we accomplish.
And you have to feel confident enough to talk about it and not, I don't want to brag. No, actually I do, because I am awesome. Have you seen what I've done this week, today, yesterday, whatever that looks like? When we get, 15 men that do that regularly, and I could list them off the top of my head, that's not bad for them. It's bad for me for not doing the same.
Yes. And we really need to focus on our wins. We don't do a good job of that. And if other people don't know what great job you're doing, how can they continue to help you grow if they don't even know?
Yeah.
So we need to kind of get out of this bubble that we can put ourselves in and really speak to that and really push ourselves forward and say, hey, I accomplished this today. This is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and we need to build circles for people to be able to do that too.
Yeah, I think that's those networking groups, and that's those just friend groups and the hot girl walk groups, whatever you want, but somewhere to provide an outlet for you to say, what'd you do today that you feel really great about? And let me share mine with you. And I think that's a great point. That makes me, I have wind-up brain happening. I love that. There's many more ideas there, I think. But you're right. We have to create the space to allow ourselves to do that and for others to do that too.
Yes. So if you know someone that you can sponsor, do it. Like, that's the best advice I can give.
Mentor, sponsor. Candidly, just say those things you're thinking. How many times have we said, I like literally the smallest things. I love that person's outfit. If you tell that woman that, she feels that 10 times better. But let's take it to the professional level. How many times have you saw a job that would be perfect for someone, you don't send it?
Right.
Or you could look for a job that would be perfect for your friend and you just don't take the time. Or there's those career moves that you'd see would be a great one for a friend. It doesn't have to be a promotion or a different job. It could just be a career move or that nonprofit that they would be a great fit for or whatever those are. But we just don't say things because, well, they're probably busy or I don't want to bug them or I don't know if who cares? Let's have the conversations because you mentioning it most often will empower them to feel even better about it in the first place.
Yeah, and that's so small that we can all do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It requires very little effort.
Even if you just put it on your list to do once a week.
Yeah.
How am I going to empower a woman today? I did a challenge, same thing, I just made it up, where there was, and it was the same thing. It was 1 month last year where I just said, every single day I'm going to do something to empower another woman. And some of them were just, hey, I've been thinking a lot about you. I want to check in on you. I haven't heard from you for a long time. Hope you're well. Let me know. Let's catch up soon. Whatever it is, those little things to the big things, just something every single day.
And it builds up.
Yeah.
It builds up if, they're hearing, and especially like some people are getting like constructive criticism or negative criticism from their boss or their peers or whatnot. And hearing that one positive piece could really make or break their decisions and their day, and it just
and their confidence. Yeah, it's going to build confidence. Yes,
and that's what we need to focus on. I feel like we tend to look at the negative before we look at the positive.
Yep, it's the reason this company is here and works is that we do that too darn much.
Right. So you're like, oh, okay, you know. And you see it in the news, right? Everyone's like, oh my God, this person died, and that person got in a car accident, and this person's hurt, and you don't see all the like great things going on all the time. You're seeing, oh my God, and you think the whole world's
tragedy
ending.
And yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just so good to see the positive.
And,
and the great
push it
things
out to other people. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I truly believe that. Like the more positive we are in general, then that exudes like around you. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, you just bring that light.
Yeah, that spreads so easily. And so when you're and I think both do, right? Like if I come into a room and I'm grouchy and I am angry, and you can tell, you're gonna feel that. He's gonna feel that. Everybody in the room's gonna be like, ooh, she's angry or something, right? But if you're like, hey everybody, how are you? I'm happy today. People feel that too. And I think that goes through everything we do in our whole lives. So if you can just be more positively inclined, that's fantastic. And you're going to spread that to more people.
I agree.
And affect them positively versus negatively.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, at the end of the day, we're not, like, let's not take ourselves too seriously, right? Like, we're only here for a finite amount of time. We don't have very much left. Let's just keep running and let's have a really great time with it, because when we get into that bad thing that happened today or feeling grouchy about our job or whatever it is, it's not beneficial for anyone, including yourself. And we don't have time for that.
No. And we have to remain looking at the positive. Yeah, you may hate your job, but that's a job that someone else doesn't have that they wish they'd have.
Yeah.
Or you may hate this, but that's something that is someone else's dream thing, right?
Yeah.
And that really put it in perspective for me, especially because I travel a lot throughout the world too. I visit my family in the Middle East, and I made it a point to take my daughter to see how my grandma lives. My grandma's still alive. I want her to see how my grandma lives, and she did. And there was 11 of us in what I call my grandma's little house. One bathroom, 11 people. You hit your head on the door walking into the bathroom because you got to take a step down. You're too tall. I wanted her to see how different it is. We didn't have air conditioning in the Middle East in 100-degree days. Because all the things that we take for granted here, other people don't have. They don't have central air. They don't have central heat. They don't have running water 7 days a week. They don't have everything that we have here. And because my parents used to take us to the Middle East, during the summer to visit my grandparents and my family. And it really put everything in perspective when we came back, and we're coming back to our warm, nice, hot showers where we can take for a long time and take for granted and not have to use a bathroom with 11 people.
Yes.
It's a different experience. So I wanted her to see, we live and we have a great life here, but don't take that for granted. You need to see that there are people live differently than you.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but I want you to appreciate everything you have here.
Yeah, and I think seeing other folks and other cultures and how other folks live across the whole world helps with that, because you're right. A lot of times we're like, what? We're the United States and everything's amazing. You're like, that can be definitely true and usually is, but you should appreciate it even more because you've seen other worlds.
Yeah, that don't have
that, yeah.
No, and it's different.
Yeah.
So
that's really smart. I think you're remarried, correct?
Not quite.
Okay. So
Not quite. Not there yet.
All right. On the way. Daughter is doing well. It seems like in school, family life seems fantastic for you now.
Yeah. It took a long time to get here, but yes, it is fantastic.
That's fantastic. And tell us a little bit. You've mentioned you work a lot of hours. You also volunteer a lot of hours. You're also taxi mom all the time. How do you create a relationship with your job that plays well with your family, with your daughter, with your parents, with everything else that you have in your life without going crazy? Because that's a lot. And I think even when we met, you mentioned 60-hour weeks is pretty regular. How do you do all of that? And how do you create a relationship where that job and that demand fits into the rest of your life?
I set boundaries.
Boundaries. Say it again for those in the back. Yeah, that is definitely an important one. Tell me more.
I set boundaries. I block my calendar for my workouts in the morning because I don't want, that to get affected. If I have an important family event in the evening, I block my calendar because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sacrifice my family or my daughter for work.
Yes.
I think, if I died tomorrow, my job would be posted before my obituary.
Right.
I truly believe that. They can easily replace me.
And you work for a great company. It's not the same thing about it. I think that's just true across the whole world because they have to, right? Your job has to replace you when you go and your kid or your family can't.
They can't. So I don't take that for granted. I don't take my family life for granted. But there are trade-offs, right? So I have to find what trade-offs I think are important to me. So for volunteering, I've learned to say no to certain things that just, I'm not maybe as passionate about as others.
What's really important to you, you've got to make time for, and you just can't with the other stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've had to say no. I hate saying no. I struggle saying no. I usually say yes to everything, and then
and you're overwhelmed, and
that was something I had to learn, so I learned to say no. I try to be there every night for dinner. Obviously, take my daughter to swim, pick her up from swim, then do dinner, and, do that. So I try to be there for as many dinners as possible, because that's important. I try to be the one that picks her up from school, so I have that extra few minutes in the car with her to just chat about her day.
Time to gauge her temperature.
So I focus on that. Weekend time, try to spend as much family time as possible.
Good.
but I have to set boundaries. You know, if there's something important to me, I'm going to make sure that work doesn't get in the way of my personal life, you know, that I have to attend or take care of. And, you know, I find ways with work to be able to do that. Like if I know I have a major deadline in 3 weeks and I know I have a big event in 3 weeks, I'm going to make sure to get the, you know, major deadline done super early. Time management 101, right?
It's important.
I don't procrastinate.
Okay.
I finish everything super quickly because if something else comes up, I can handle it, or I can move stuff around to make things fit and work.
Yeah.
But I'm not a procrastinator in general. Like as soon as something hits my desk, I want it done and out of the way and moved on. So like,
well, and what's the famous quote? Like the work you're not doing is what will help you grow.
Yes.
And I think it's absolutely true. Like it's all that stuff that we look at and go, ooh, I'll do that tomorrow. That's the stuff. That's why.
Yeah.
It's because it's hard and it's gritty. And it's the best thing for you to do.
I agree. Yeah.
So that's great that you don't. And
don't.
Is that something just natural about you, or have you just learned lessons through life that taught you to be that way?
No, I can't. Like it'll give me anxiety if I don't do it.
It's
I won't
worse
be able
to
to
not do
sleep
it.
at
Okay.
night, and I'll be thinking about it. You know, I even have like a schedule for my house on what day I clean what aspect of it because I can't clean my whole house in one day.
Yeah, and same thing.
So-
It's going to be so much pressure on usually a weekend to get it
Yeah.
all done, and it's
I don't want to waste my family time weekend doing that, but
That's really
I know
smart.
I can do 45 minutes on a Monday to do this, and 30 minutes on a Tuesday to clean this, and 30 minutes on a Wednesday to clean this. You
breaking
know,
it
and
up.
yeah, you know, in the evening when my daughter's swimming, so I'm not missing any quality time.
So smart.
I've had to. It's like a puzzle. My schedule, my 24 hours is a puzzle, and I had to move the pieces to make it all fit.
And it sounds like you've done great with it. So kudos, because that's tough. And the boundaries and the saying no, I think that's very much a female trait. I think we all don't like to say no, and we all mostly feel pretty bad about it when we have to. But I think the moment, and you're younger than me, because it's funny, I would always say age helps with that. The older you get, the easier it is to say no. But I'm older than you, and I think you might be better at it than me. So I'm learning myself. It's hard to say no.
It really
and we always feel guilty about it. I think especially as moms. I'm not a mom. I don't have kids. But I think moms feel worse.
Yes.
Because it's another obligation and you just feel like you're here to save the world being a mom. And you kind of are. But that saying no sometimes helps that be better.
Oh, yeah.
It's just real darn hard to say it and not feel guilty.
I feel the guilt, but you have to learn to not do that. But I do still feel guilty.
And does the guilt lighten as you see the product of the no? Like you say no, you feel pretty guilty. It works really well and you're not super stressed out. Yeah. Do you feel better at the end about the no?
I think it depends on what I say no to.
Okay.
Like if it's, you know, like a work event that's not really on my high priority list, it doesn't feel it.
You don't feel too bad. Yeah.
But for example, my daughter's got swimming divisional championships the same weekend my mom turned 60, and my mom's going out of town to Mexico for her birthday trip. And I have to pick what I want to do.
Oh my gosh.
Do I watch my daughter swim championship divisionals, or do I go celebrate my mom's 60th birthday?
Well, we'll just go take a bunch of pictures of your daughter, and then you can go to Mexico. How about that?
Right. My daughter would not be happy with that. She'd be devastated. So, you know,
and your mom's probably sad, too, because she wants to see you and hang out with you for her big day as well, but...
Yes. So, that one... So far, I've picked my daughter's swim meet, and my mom says she's okay, but I know deep down she's not.
Yeah.
And my daughter is like, I'm glad. Do you want to come see me?
I feel bad for Grandma.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked me, Mom. Gee, thanks. It was that hard for you, huh? I'm like, no, I love both of you.
But then when she gets older, she'll see like that relationship with her mom that she will have at that point as well, that she's building right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so
will mean so much to her too.
Trade-offs. Any decision you make has a trade-off, and you have to acknowledge what you're willing to trade off and what you're not willing to trade off.
Well said. Well said. Boundaries. How much do you put your boundaries into, like, work? Are you a never email after work? Are you I can do whenever that, like, is that a strict rule for you, or is that a little bit different?
It's a little different. I even get my emails on my phone. I'm
Same.
Yeah, I'm the one that probably responds later than I should. Usually when my daughter's at swim, it's an opportunity for me to get back online and, knock out some more emails that I need to do, which is after hours, because that's the time that I can fit it in.
Yeah.
So...
And you blocked out that other time for your fitness or your health, and so it makes a full sense. Yeah, the full circle sense.
So, I did remove notifications while I was out on vacation last week. So that was an
good
improvement.
job. Yes, that's tough.
Yeah, I did check like once every 2 days just to make sure. But yeah, I work my schedule as much as I can. I'll work your straight working hours and whatnot, and then I make sure that my evenings kind of are around my daughter.
Sure.
Absolutely. And that works for me because, while she's swimming and I'm not there, I'm just dropping off and come home, get another hour's work, and knock stuff out in peace and quiet, and then come back and, pick her up, have dinner, that kind of thing, and kind of move on. I try not to work super late. I want to be in bed at a reasonable time because I wake up super early.
I was going to say, because you have to get up early, too, if you're going to get all this done.
Yeah.
What's your normal get-up time?
5-ish.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I always love to know this because some people are like 9, some people are like 3. It's just crazy to hear the difference. But that's probably very common.
Yeah. Get a workout in and then shower and get to work.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready for the quick response questions?
Sure.
Awesome. Here we go. Like I said, I think these are newer, so I don't even know these that well. If you had to change your name, what would you change it to?
Oh, I hate my name.
Do you? I love your name.
I hate my name. I was named after my grandma. I hate my name. My first name. I think when I was younger, I wanted to change it to like Vanessa.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick
with
Vanessa.
That's a good name.
Yeah, I like that name.
I forgot about Vanessa. I don't. We just talked about this. One of my favorite Vanessas is Dr. Vanessa Allen McLeod from the Urban League, who is one of my favorite humans.
But yeah, I'd pick an easy
Great
name.
idea.
Because Aida, the way it's spelled, is such a challenge. No one can say it
Aida,
right.
yeah.
I've been called so many names, so I always wanted an easier name. Yeah.
Fair.
So
Perfect.
My name in a heartbeat.
Vanessa it is. What's your Hogwarts house?
Oh, I am... Gosh, now I can't even think of them, and I read a lot of Harry Potter.
I don't know them, so the first time I asked this question, I couldn't assist. It's Slytherin?
No.
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor.
Okay, Gryffindor it is. Check. I probably should have those listed.
I couldn't think of it off the top of my head. My daughter would kill me if she heard, because
She's like, what?
We've gone to Universal and done all of the Harry Potter stuff, and she's like, how could you not remember?
Yeah. Mom, you're so embarrassing. I feel like that's what
old.
My nieces, nephew, my friends' kids, you're so embarrassing.
Yes. Me.
Me when I was a kid, I probably said the same. What has been your favorite age so far?
Oh, I'd have to say now.
Okay. You're what, mid-30s you said, right?
37.
Okay.
Yeah, this has been the best age. I finally have my health together. I work out. I have just a good balance on life. I'm happier.
Yeah.
I just have it.
You've got it all together now.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? 37. We're like, when we were 11, we're like, oh, when I'm 22, listen.
Right.
Oh, no, it's not real. If you could be one Disney character for a day, who would it be?
Oh, Ariel.
Ariel, good one.
She's been my favorite.
Ugh, God love her.
I love her. Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's a great answer. You're boarding a plane right now. Where is it going?
Jordan, to see my family.
Ugh, I love that. What is your favorite article of clothing that you own? I mean, I love this beautiful sweater you have today, but it doesn't have to be that one.
No. Wow, that's a tough one.
Is the clothing going to get you buzzed?
No, it's not going to get me buzzed.
I swear it's
It would
not.
probably be my eye necklace.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more. This is beautiful. If you're watching on
Yeah.
YouTube, check it out.
I don't even know who got it for me. I can't remember. That's how old this is. This has gotta
Okay,
be
so you've had it for a long
25
time.
years old, at
Really
least.
impressive.
It's supposed to protect you from the evil eye.
Okay.
That's our superstitious culture.
Okay.
And it just
Cool.
wards off the evil with people around you.
Oh,
So I love wearing it. I hate taking it off.
I love it. Okay, fantastic. Breakfast food or dessert?
Breakfast food.
I thought that's what I was guessing you would guess. Tropical vacation or mountains?
Tropical vacation.
Yes. Are you usually early, late, or right on time?
Early.
Yeah. You were early today,
Yep.
even. I love it. I like early. Do you prefer to give gifts or receive them?
Give.
What is your least favorite chore to do around the house?
Mop.
Oh, good one. I like mopping solely because I feel like it's a good workout. I'm like, look at me, I'm gonna get muscles. It's not true at all, but I feel like I can think that at least. If you had free tickets to any concert, who would it be for?
Celine Dion.
Ooh, good one. What is the one thing you need to sleep? Fan, blanket.
I'll go with blanket. I need to
Gotta
be
have like a
warmer.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you prefer watching shows week by week or binging all at once?
Binging.
Okay. Do you cannonball or toe dip into a cold pool?
Toe dip.
I was actually going to ask you earlier. You were talking about getting up early and how the workout in the morning is energizing. And I was just doing some research. I got a cold plunge. And I was just doing some research on when to cold plunge. And they were like, first thing in the morning. And I'm like, are you crazy? I cannot do. So I thought, man, I wonder if she cold plunges. But no cold plunge.
No.
Okay.
I'm
I have.
freezing thinking about it.
Oh, I know. And it's cold. And so it's harder when it's cold.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go cold plunge.
I don't
at
like being
5 a.m.
cold.
I know, I'm really bad at it. But it's so good for you to
It
cold
is.
plunge. But, man, I don't like it. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, wow. Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow Picture.
Ooh, good one. I haven't thought about that song for so long. Very good.
I don't know why I like to karaoke it, but I do.
Yeah, I think it was Sheryl Crow. Funny, we just went to a show, my husband and I, over the weekend, and it's a band with the lead singer is a guy, and he covered a Sheryl Crow song, and it was an awesome cover. He sounded fantastic, and I was very impressed. So good song, good choice. What mythical creature could you believe is real?
Mythical creature. I never even believed in Santa.
You should get buzzed for that.
You can buzz
Really?
me for that. Yeah.
Now, I don't know much about the Jordan culture. Do they have Santa?
Oh yeah, we do.
You just didn't. You weren't having any of it. Really?
It's not logical. It wasn't logical.
I
at
love
a
how your
young-
brain works. Even
I know,
that
I'm
young.
like
You
a
were
5-year-old.
listen,
Like, no, this can't. It's not real. How? It's not possible.
I love this.
It's horrible. That's horrible.
Now, did your daughter believe in Santa?
She did.
Okay, so
Yeah, she did.
It
And then she
transferred.
started asking like logical questions, and I'm like, how do I answer these? Well,
Yeah.
how does he do everybody in that 24 hours? I'm like, oh.
at some point you're literally like, it's magic. I don't know.
I'm like, I don't know. Hiding.
Hide your face, take a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
I paused for that one. That's
okay.
fine.
That's okay. Especially because you don't believe in Santa. I don't know that you could. Probably the answer is none.
Yeah, it is none.
What is one lighthearted hill that you would die on?
Lighthearted hill. Ooh. Do you have an example?
Like laundry should always be done on Sundays, or I don't know. Soapbox derby is the way to teach kids to drive. I'm just making things up. I don't know. Like I said, I've only heard one other answer, and I can't remember off the top of my head what they even answered for this one. Or if you just have a hill you want to die on for any soapbox reason.
Oh, my hill that I always die on is I have to clean everything as soon as it is dirty everywhere.
Really?
Dishes, laundry. I do laundry every morning. Like the clothes I
Like
just
the
worked
clothes
out
were-
in the day before and
Really?
today is all in the laundry and it's cleaned by that afternoon, put away.
You are a fantastic human being, and I need to do this more. See, I feel like you've said many times through this interview little things that make me think that you're like an Atomic Habits person. Have you read that book? That's
I'm very
like
habitual.
just very, and it's very split up. It's not I'm gonna do all of this stuff all of the time. It's I'm gonna do a little bit of a lot of things every day to keep everything in my whole life functioning really
Yes.
smoothly. It's very intelligent, but not, I don't think tons of people do that.
No.
Like the laundry, no, I don't know another
Oh,
person.
God.
Like I'm really proud of myself if I do laundry like 2 or 3 times in a week, where I'm like, oh, look at me keeping up with it. But and I don't, it's just me and my husband at home. We don't dirty a ton of clothes, but that's really
Oh,
and
I
like
wash every day. And think
and
about
then
it,
the
it's such a
cleaning of
small
the
load.
house. Yeah.
So then you're putting it away in like 2 minutes. I mean,
This
just
is
think
really
about the
smart.
time you've saved. I mean,
just
you
like
might not
cleaning
be-
the house, like
Yeah.
it's so much more realistic or just like palatable for you to clean your bathroom on Thursday than
Yeah.
bathroom, kitchen, laundry, everything on Saturday.
Yeah, no, I won't do that. And even like dishes, if I'm eating something, I just wash it away, put it in the dishwasher. Like, let's go.
Really?
We're done.
That's
I
smart.
feel like it just saves time.
I think it
along
does.
The bigger
I think it
picture.
just spreads that out more evenly so everything is a little bit easier,
Yeah.
saving time in the long run. Because when it becomes the dishes is a big project, number one, you push it, so the project gets bigger. And it just takes more time at the long, because now the food is dry and crusty and you got to get it off.
effort. You've just wasted
it's
more
just gross.
time.
Yeah, you're wasting more time because it's harder later.
Everything to me is about time because I have, a finite amount of time every day and I have to figure out how to make it all move so fast. Even my kid will tell me, like, slow down, like, stop. Okay, like
She's 13.
I'm like, come
she's like,
on, we gotta go. Like it's, we gotta be in swim in like 10 minutes. We gotta leave. Let's go. We're rushing.
She's like, within 4 minutes, calm down. And you're
Yeah.
like, no, we're going.
We're going. Let's go. Get in the car. So yeah.
I mean, that super smart. Like that's something I think we can all learn from is just the tidbits. Like the Atomic Habits is all about that. Like if you just do a little bit towards all your goals every day, that's a lot more easier to achieve than trying to read War and Peace in a day, right?
Right.
10 pages at a time.
You gotta break. I have to break it all up. Even like the towels kill me because I'm not gonna wash towels every day. I wash them like every 3 days, right? But with my kids swimming, we could go through a lot of towels.
Man, yeah.
But it's like even then, I'm like, oh, there's like towels here.
You're like, I know that they're not ready yet, but I don't want them to be here.
I know.
I bet your house is immaculate.
I try to keep it clean.
You're awesome. Man,
I try to keep it clean because if someone comes unexpectedly, you don't want to be that person who's like shoving.
So
stuff
sorry.
Right,
Yeah.
and
Can
you're
you
like,
close
at
under your
least
bed?
it's
Yeah.
organized, or at least the living room looks nice.
Yeah, the basics, yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. Well, you made it through.
Okay.
So
good.
look at that.
I died on the clean hill.
Yeah. Died on the clean hill. Well done. I mean, of any hill, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Anything we didn't talk about that you want to mention to the folks in podcast land?
I think we talked about so much.
I know, right? It's a whirlwind.
If we can add, the NIWA links to
Yeah, we
that'd be
can.
awesome. Like our
yes.
speed networking event. I don't know when this will go live, but our speed networking event would.
Yeah, so this
think
is
it's
for
the
February, so I think we'll miss the January event, but I know you mentioned they have a whole bunch of events, so it would be
Yes.
great to include the NIWA links in our notes and then connect with them as well. I am not on their board, but I'm alum, and I think what they're doing is fantastic, and let's have 10 of them, right? Like, they're such a great organization. Let's add more. Let's be in that more, be more included there. I think, and then if anybody else knows some other groups like that, especially in the region, we really try to hit the region, but I know we've got some listeners outside of the region. Like, what are your favorites? We want to hear about them because the more we know, the better off we are, and the more we can help local women.
I agree.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
This is my pleasure.
How do people connect with you? Find you on LinkedIn? Go to NiSource? What's best?
LinkedIn.
Awesome.
LinkedIn is best, and
Yeah.
you can find me on LinkedIn. You can message me. I'm pretty responsive.
Yeah.
It's on my phone. It'll come to me directly.
All right. Yes, definitely. Well, connect with Aida Haigh through LinkedIn. You will find her there, or keep listening to this podcast over and over for inspiration. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate you being here a ton, and we will see you guys next month for All About the Girls podcast. Talk soon. Thanks.